Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about the sarcastic coach voice in my head that keeps me thin. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, and I think it's a primary reason why I've been able to get to my goal weight and stay there. I think it comes down to this. And basically, what I'm talking about is the voice in your head. Okay. Now, for most people, the voice in their head is an extremely negative one, and it serves a positive purpose. It's there to kind of put the screws to you to get you to perform at your best, right? Expects the best out of you, whips you, pushes you to the extreme, and shows you hard love, tough love to try and motivate you and get you to do things. And that's the typical voice most people are going to have in their mind that they're going to rely on to succeed. And unfortunately, and we talked about this yesterday. So if you're interested in this conversation, definitely check out the podcast from yesterday where we talked about being mean to yourself in a little more detail. So when you're mean to yourself, that's how most people kind of go through this process. They're trying to be sarcastic. It's not really a sarcastic coach voice. It's a sarcastic. At the end of the day, it's kind of a parent voice, but it's a mean, punitive, cutting, sharp voice that most people have in their head that they're trying to use to drive them towards their goal. Now, the problem with that is that most the time that voice is going to kind of grind you into a pulp and make you want to quit because you're going to make a mistake. And instead of it calming you down and helping you to figure out what the solution is, that voice is just going to pile on top of you, call you names, use that to validate and verify why you're a loser and you're a failure and you're never going to succeed. And here's just one more example. You all know that. Okay. I'm going to leave that alone. But the big difference, and what I've seen for myself and one of my most successful clients, is they work on developing a counter voice. Now, this counter voice concept is really important because you're never going to get rid of the negative voice. It's never going to go away because there's a basic premise of neuroscience, which is that you can't get rid of old wiring. So old wiring is going to stay there, and you're going to know how to talk to yourself mean, and you're going to talk to yourself mean for the rest of your life in the same way that you're going to understand English for the rest of your life. There's no way you're ever going to forget English words and what English is. So what we're looking to do is not get rid of the negative voice. We're looking to become more aware of it, see when it shows up, how it feels, what it says, and we look to create a counter voice to it. And that is what I kind of refer to as my sarcastic coach voice. Now, specifically, I call it my voice coach, my coach voice. I add the sarcastic part because it adds a little extra fuel to the fire. I'll get to that in a second. So the coach voice basically, though, is this, that it becomes an encouraging, supportive voice for you to have in your head to counterbalance this other one. It's the supportive, encouraging teacher you've had in your life, the coach, the mentor, the family member or parent or friend who was supportive and helpful to you in a real genuine way, so that when you made a mistake, you could go and confide in them and they would say, it's okay. Look, if this was going on, this was on your. Now, again, they wouldn't just explain it away. They wouldn't say it was okay. They would still hold you at a high level, but they would support you getting to that high level in a much more friendly, helpful, supportive way. You understand? So when the mistake happens, they're not saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. They're saying, okay, that's not how you want to act. Let's understand it. How'd that happen? And where can we go from here? And so, again, it kind of confides, you can confide in this voice in your head. You can expect it to kind of, give you some comfort, some safety, and then move towards the direction that you want to go in. And I think without question, when you look at it this way, obviously that voice is going to support you more towards reaching your goals. So I think that's an obvious thing when we look at it that way. The challenging part here is that knowing and understanding that that's better is not the same as developing the skill. And again, I go back to the idea of like swinging a golf club, and you don't have to have ever golfed to understand this. But if you read a book or take a lesson on how to swing a golf club and you learn all the mechanics, it doesn't mean that you can actually swing the golf club well, right? There's a difference between knowing something and being able to do it. So I can sit here and talk to you about having a coach, supportive, warm voice in your mind, and you'll be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. But that doesn't really matter. What really is going to matter is you're practicing that voice, developing that voice. And I say the closest parallel I can think to this is learning how to speak to yourself in a more encouraging, supportive voice. Developing that voice, to me, is very much like learning another language. It is literally like learning Spanish or German or whatever language you may take. And I know that may sound strange because you understand the concept, but again, it's like swinging the golf club. You got to put the kind of muscle memory time in. All right. And so we start with the belief that, yes, this would be really helpful to me to have this warm, encouraging voice supporting me. And then we come up with a strategy to work on developing that. The strategy I suggest is the program yourself thin method using the reader rehearsal technique. It's the best way I've ever seen to develop a coach voice and have it start to run automatically. Okay, let's get to the sarcastic part. So one thing that I find really helpful for me is I am kind of by nature fairly sarcastic. And in my life, that sarcasm has been used by the negative voice for bad. Okay. And so I think a lot of times our sarcastic negative voice is extremely sarcastic at us. And the big shift I want to make in your mind when I say warm, encouraging, supportive coach voice is I want you to understand that that voice has the exact same access to the same sarcasm, cuttingness, nidgy things it can say to you as the bad voice. And so when you create your coach voice, please understand it's not just some Mr. Rogers voice. This is the same voice that can, pull the shiv out and shiv someone else too, but you're using it for good. And the way this shows a lot of times in my mind, and it's so funny to me, this did happen fairly recently, as I remember I was working on something and I made a mistake with it. And this voice in my head literally said, "You are such a fucking loser." It literally said that. I said, and so all of a sudden the coach voice was right there on the scene and said, "What? What are you saying? You think I'm a loser because I made one little mistake?" And so this voice, again, it is a coach voice. It is a warm, encouraging voice, but it also doesn't mind pulling the shiv out and shiving the bad voice. And so it's not to be trifled with. It is a tough voice as well. So I hope that you kind of internalize this a bit, because it's not just trying to be happy horse shit, happy Susie, smiley Susie here. We're looking to use the same qualities we have, but to use them for good. And when you start doing this, what happens is you start becoming aware of the negative stuff you say. "Oh, you're never going to be able to lose weight." And this voice comes and says, "Why would you say that? If we keep getting better at what we're doing, each and every day we reflect on and improve 1%, how would we not improve? How would we not get more control over our weight? Oh, you can't stick to anything." Of course I can stick to things. I brush my teeth every day. I go to work every day. I do this every day. I can do things every day. It's just figuring out the right things for me and working on them strategically. So I'm going to focus on drinking my water today, going for walks. Now, you get the idea. But when you start having this conversation in your mind, it is transformative, because for most people, this negative voice is running the show. It is like the 10,000 pound gorilla just running everything in your head. And when you start to balance that out with another voice that is actually supportive, encouraging, and genuinely moves in the direction you want in, absolutely game changing. So I hope this helps you out. And if you want to go deeper into this concept, click the link in my bio. If you're on TikTok, click my picture up there. You'll see a link in the bio. Go get the hypnosis session I made for you. Because I don't just give you a hypnosis session. I'm giving you the new Thin Me hypnosis session to start. I'm giving you the Program Yourself Thin method report that I was just talking about, how to use the reader rehearsal technique to install that coach voice and develop it. I'm giving you the goal weight quiz to help you figure out the right goal weight for yourself. I'm giving you 3 steps to live at your goal weight. And for a little while, I'm going to give you complete and total access to Gym AI, which is my AI clone, which is trained on 10 million of my words. It is literally like talking or chatting with me, and it can help you through whatever challenges you may be having. All of that's free. So go sign up there and check it out. If you're over in Facebook, YouTube land, I will put this link in here for you. But if you're on TikTok, you can just click over to my bio and you'll see the link right there. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I am here every weekday, Monday through Friday at noon, to help you all move forward with your weight. Again, I've been doing this personally for over, 30 years, professionally for over 20 years. So again, I have a different take on weight loss than you'll usually get access to. And I would love to help you out. What's up, Darlene? How's it going? Nice to see you. Yeah, it's been a week and a week. I tell you, it is, I have had a technological week from hell. That's what I would say. They happen, but I weathered the storm. I've gotten through it, and I'm glad to say I'm on the other side. So I'm very happy about that. So anyways, finally able to kind of relax a little. Just when I thought I was able to relax, I slipped. I was getting gas, and it's so cold here. It's literally like 5 below zero. So I'm like, I'm gonna sit in my car while I'm doing this. While I'm getting in, I slipped on a bit of ice. I kind of jerked my neck a little, but it could have been worse because at least the car was there and I landed in the car, but I'm gonna pull through. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them. Any weight loss questions are welcome. I will kind of kick this off by things I have been hearing over the last couple of days anyways, so that you're not, feeling like you're all alone. But I've heard from a number of people over the last week or two, they're feeling just a little bit down, completely normal and natural. And this is a message, and I've been talking a little bit about this week because I want you to understand that I think with dieting, you're always trained to think that you should always just do it. And no matter what the situation in life is, you should just do it. And I just don't think that's true. Like I don't think you can always just give 100% to your weight loss, And another thing we do in this culture is we take January, which I would suggest is one of the, if you take civilization out of it for a second, you look at January and December, perhaps as months for most places, certainly in America anyways, it's the darkest months. It's the coldest months. It's kind of the slowest months. And I'm a big believer that January is kind of a time to slow down more. And I think our culture overlays on January that it's time to just, do everything perfect, make everything perfect. And I think for a lot of people, they hit kind of this mid-January, end of January kind of downturn. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think instead of fighting against that, sometimes if you lean into that and let yourself kind of take a step back and recover a bit, it can be really helpful, And again, in Program Yourself Thin, one of the things we say a lot of times is we'll do the little things so that we can do the big things. I'm a big believer. You can't just always do the big things, and sometimes people hit, they hit January, it's dark, it's cold, the Christmas buzz has kind of faded away. You're getting the bills from Christmas and the holidays. You're like, holy shit, it's cold. It just feels like the dead of winter. These things can impact you energetically, emotionally, mentally. So if you've been feeling a little bit down, you haven't blown the year. Please don't think that. That's diet mentality, and they train us to think that way, but it's bullshit. And if you're feeling a little bit down, it's understandable. I don't feel the same now as I will in the middle of May. I promise you that. when it's like 70 degrees every day and it's bright all the time and I'm out playing basketball and taking my dog for a walk and, doing all sorts of things outside, mowing the lawn, working on my garden, I'm going to be in a different mood, a better mood, I would say, and I think sometimes dieting culture doesn't allow us to really appreciate and recognize that there's ups and downs in life, and again, I'm not saying like just because it's January and I'm not at the top of my game doesn't mean I'm at the bottom of my game either. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just saying, oh, forget it's January. I'm still doing things. But again, life is up and down. Life is not a static thing. And you hear me say this all the time, that I think one of the biggest skills of living at your goal weight is being able to ride out, kind of manage these ups and downs a bit. And I think a big part of managing the downs is seeing them differently and realizing that they're natural, and again, you might be the opposite. You might be someone that when dead of winter comes, you're just thriving. You love it. Okay. So again, it's not about, middle of winter has to be down, but it's about recognizing your own patterns. If you start to notice, pay attention, you'll notice you got patterns. Certain things happen, you're up. Certain things happen, you're a little down. And as you start to understand those, some of them you can change and some of them you can't. I'm not going to change winter. I got to move somewhere warmer or something like that. But short of that, I can't change winter. So I realize, winter has these challenges. I mitigate what I can. And I accept that, yeah, okay, I'm a little slower. I'm a little more down in this period than I am over here typically. And that's okay. I can still succeed, but I think a lot of people are so black and white, so all or nothing, that you'll hear a lot of people that feel like they've already lost the year. Why? Because they're still recovering from the holidays, or they're down, or they're a little tired, and that's not a good enough reason. You haven't lost the year. You got a long time left. All right. Vicky says Friday's always better than Monday, especially for the work class. Yeah, Friday. I love Fridays. I'm fired up. I'll tell you what, I'm really fired up. Like I said, this week I battled through. I'm not going to lie. Like it was a hard week. In a lot of ways. We got 1,000 feet of snow on Sunday to Monday. And so there's just a lot of physical work, but then technologically there was a bunch of bullshit, just this whole week. And that's the most stressful stuff there is to me. So anyways, but now I'm feeling so good. I'm just like, a lot of the work I've been doing is really showing up. But anyways, I hope the same for you. I hope, again, and that's the other thing, if you keep going, things do tend to eventually work out for you, because life's always like this. Yeah, Darlene says, can you readdress how dieting makes us self-sabotage? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's one of my main things I talk about because, all of you, if you want to lose weight, one thing I know for sure is you think like a dieter. You got a dieter mindset. Why wouldn't you? We all have a dieter mindset. We've all been conditioned. We've all been conditioned to think like dieters our entire lives, like literally exposed to millions of ads in our lives from diets. And so we think about dieting. And so there's a lot of reasons why dieting makes us self-sabotage, but I'm going to give you the big picture reason, in my opinion, and it's mindset based. And the first reason is that dieting at its core is really about getting to your goal weight, right? Dieting is about losing weight until you get to your goal weight. And that's how you think about it. So right off the bat, you've got the wrong goal. It's not the real goal that you want because you don't want to lose weight. That's not your real goal. Your ultimate goal is to live at your goal weight. And those are two completely different goals, right? It's like saying the difference between like, I need to make some money right now versus I want to be wealthy. I mean, there are two totally different categories of goal. In your entire life, you've been conditioned to focus on losing weight. Now, what that does to you psychologically is it makes you think about weight loss as a temporary thing. And I'm going to give you a metaphor here. The diet industry has conditioned you to think about your weight loss like it's a sprint, right? That you're going to do this crazy plan, and every diet out there is a crazy plan, and the way you approach it is crazy. You're going to do that crazy plan until you lose the weight. And you treat the maintenance afterwards as an afterthought. Okay. And so you think of your weight loss as a sprint. And this really, I don't even know you, but I know this defines every weight loss attempt you've made, is that when you try to lose weight, you always start typically on a Monday, but you start one day 100% better. So you choose your plan, whatever it may be. Weight Watchers, you're going to count your points. You're not going to eat for 16 hours. You're not going to eat carbs. You're not going to eat sugar. You're going to track every calorie. You're going to restrict. Whatever you choose, you jump into it 100%, usually on a Monday. And you expect that you're going to be 100% perfect until you reach the goal. Now, because you think of it like a sprint, the only thing that is going to make you feel okay is if you're absolutely perfect, right? Because think about it. If you're going to run a sprint, the only thing that wins a sprint is perfection. If you trip a little bit in the beginning of a sprint, you've lost. You need to be perfect to win a sprint. So subconsciously, you've been trained to think about your weight loss like it's a sprint and that you need to be perfect. And this is why, as soon as you make a mistake, it feels catastrophic. It feels like you lost the race. It feels that way every time. And that's usually why you end up quitting. You make a mistake or you don't get the weight loss results you expected and your motivation just disappears. And so dieting has trained you and conditioned you to have the wrong mindset. So the difference here is that when we focus on living at our goal weight, we turn this race much more into a marathon, a never-ending marathon. And when you start to think of it as a marathon right off the bat, subconsciously, you start giving yourself more space to be able to absorb mistakes. You trip a little bit in the beginning of a marathon, you can make it up. You've got time. And so right off the bat, this paradigm, this way of thinking about weight loss is more calm. It's more grounded. It's more set up for success because the diet mentality is this frenetic sprint and you're frazzled and you're stressed and you're tense. How long can you last like that? How long would you want to last like that? It's unpleasant. This is why you avoid starting a diet at this point, because you know how stressful it is. You know how frustrating it is. And so you resist it. You avoid it. Okay. So what I'm talking about is really starting to change the way you think about weight loss so that you realize this is for the rest of your life. Because again, I know you want to get to your goal weight. I understand that. But my big question to you is, how long would you like to stay there? How long do you want to live at your goal weight? That's the big question. And I can hear you say forever. So it is a never-ending marathon. This is something you want to do for the rest of your life. So my goal with Program Yourself Thin is to help you to, again, in Program Yourself Thin, we follow the goal weight pyramid. Let me flip this mirror image around so you can read this. We use the goal weight pyramid: mindset, lifestyle, and eating. And those are the three categories we really seek to optimize so that you can live at your goal weight, get there, and then live there for the rest of your life in the easiest, most enjoyable way possible. Right? That's the goal. And so the focus is completely different. So in Program Yourself Thin, it's not about how fast you can lose the weight. It's about how long you can keep it off for, how long you can live at your goal weight. It's a completely different paradigm. And how you experience that in the beginning is it's a lot more relaxing. You know, in Program Yourself Thin, you start the program off tomorrow, you get a 5-minute hypnosis session to listen to in the morning. You know, so it's relaxing, it's calming, it's grounding. Because I believe that's what you need more than anything right off the bat. To start to successfully manage your weight, I believe the very first thing you need is you need to be able to be more calm, relaxed, and grounded. And I think if you can do that, that's the starting point. Because right off the bat, if I can relax you by 30%, you're going to make better food choices just from that alone. All right. And then obviously from that place, you're able to learn more effectively, quicker, and everything just goes from there. So, that's kind of like that's one take on why diets don't work and they set you up for self-sabotage. Because that's what happens. And most people's diet experience is very much the same, where it's like, you get really upset about your weight and you say, that's it, I'm going to change it. You dive into some really intense plan. You do it for a little while, make a mistake or get tired of it, stop doing it, get really upset, jump into a plan, do it for a little while, get sick of it or make a mistake, quit. On and on, right? And if you look at your literal entire life, you'll notice that's the pattern. Sometimes you might get better results than others. Sometimes it lasts a little bit more than others. But at the end of the day, it's always the same story, that you go back to your normal settings, your normal behaviors, and your weight goes back to your normal weight. And it's because you've never learned how to reprogram your subconscious mind so that you have a new normal, and that's kind of the best way I can explain program yourself then. What's up, Jenny? Jenny said, I'm struggling to work out why I overeat or want to eat sweet things. I don't feel like it's because of stress. I don't feel upset or stressed and directly go to the biscuits, but obviously I do overeat. I'll just give you a slight tweak on that, Jenny. Instead of working out too much why you're overeating, I would shift it to say, how can I eat more moderately? And I know that may sound strange. It may sound like it's the same thing. It's not. Okay. When you focus on why you overeat, why questions in general are really torturous, because our brain just comes up with a bunch of bullshit. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. They're like, why do I keep overeating? Because your mom used to do this and this happened to you when you were 10 years old and you've always been a sugarholic and you do this and you get mad and you're upset and you love biscuits and you do. And it just starts spinning stuff out, right? And you've probably been trying to wonder why you overeat as long as you remember. And you haven't gotten anywhere valuable or effective with it. So I would strongly suggest you shift that over to, how can I eat more moderately? When I eat more moderately, when I eat the biscuits in a moderate way, when I say no to the biscuits, how am I doing that? How can I get good at that? How can I get good at having more control over the biscuits? Do you see the difference there, Jenny? It's night and day. Please understand, folks, please understand this, because this is fundamental, because your subconscious mind doesn't understand negatives. If I ask you to not think about what I'm about to say, get yourself ready, folks. Get your willpower going. Don't think about a banana. Don't think about a banana. Stop thinking about a banana, right? And what do you think about a banana? So you don't want to be focused. Why do I overeat? Why do I keep overeating? Why am I overweight? Why do I overeat? Why do I eat the wrong thing? You're obsessed with that. All you dieters do this, okay? This is the basic psychology thing that you probably never learned. Again, dieting doesn't want you to lose weight, folks. Dieting is just a branch of the food processing industry, just so you know this. Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Atkins Food Products owned by the same company owns Auntie Anne's Pretzels and Cinnabon. Slim Fast owned by the same company owns Ben & Jerry's ice cream. They genuinely don't want you to lose weight. What do you think? These companies want you to stop eating their bullshit products and have lower profits? That doesn't make any sense. They buy these diets and put them out there because they love the diets, because they get your money when you want to diet, and then they fill your head with rocks none of this shit works, and then you won't go back to eating their shit anyways. They're not going to buy Program Yourself Thin and put that out to the world. I promise you. Okay. So again, dieting just in general, that's a whole nother conversation about why dieting self-sabotages. It literally focuses you on the things you don't want, but that's another story for another time. So Jenny, what I would suggest is, instead of being obsessed with why you overeat, get obsessed with how you can eat more moderately. Now, people say all the time, I can't eat moderately, Jim. I say, well, how do you practice? Have you practiced in a strategic, systematic way how to eat more moderately? Have you practiced by shifting your mindset, your lifestyle, and your eating so that you can eat more moderately, and taking that on as an exercise and approach? And the answer is always no. So you just tried to eat moderately and it didn't work? You know what I mean? That's like sitting at the piano you've never played. I can't play the piano. I can't play the piano. Calm down. Yeah, you have to learn it first. And eating moderately in this reality is the same thing. No, it's a brand new world, folks. What grandma did to eat normal is not us. We're surrounded by hyper palatable engineered foods, and we're constantly being marketed to and conditioned to eat them. It's never been a time in history like this. So what you need to do is you need to upgrade your subconscious software. You need to upgrade your mindset to be able to deal with the challenges that humans have never had to deal with in the history of Earth that we're dealing with right now with food. And so you need a new paradigm, a new mindset, a new way to understand all this. That's the secret, in my opinion, and it starts with focusing on what you want to do. what you want to be able to do, the skills you want to have, the skills that are going to allow you to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on near autopilot. It's not rocket science. It's just that you've never been shown to think this way, because the food companies and diets have had, they've been the only ones telling you how to lose weight for your whole life. And so you can ask 1,000 Americans now how to lose weight. You're going to hear diet, surgery, injections, medicine. That's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear mindset. And how could mindset not be one of the fundamental factors? You know, it's like, I was thinking this yesterday, because it's like, if you look at substance abuse, addiction issues, you know, all sorts of performance issues, there's always a mindset component if you're serious about it, right? And it's like, I always say, like dieting is like just say no to drugs. You remember back in the 80s, Nancy Reagan did the just say no. But can I remind you now, in 2026, we don't have just say no centers where you send people that are addicted to substances to just go practice saying no, because that's not enough of a solution, right? It's just bullshit. It's just a tactic. And that's what the diets are. Oh, just eat the right thing. Well, if I could just fucking eat the right thing, I would have already done it. It's something else. I need something else. Diet industry, please give me something else other than a fucking plan of how to eat. Do you really think that's the only problem? You know what it's like? It's like if you want to play the piano, you've never taken a lesson. I just keep giving you sheet music. Well, try this song. Oh, that song didn't work. Try this song. You're like, I don't know how to read the notes. I don't know where the notes are on the thing. I don't know how to move my fingers. But you keep thinking, give me the new song and that's going to work. That's what the diet's like. It doesn't matter what diet plan I give you, whether I tell you to cut fat or cut protein or cut carbs or cut calories. It doesn't matter what I tell you to do as a tactic. You don't have the mindset to carry it out. Isn't that not the problem? I mean, you've tried a million things to lose weight. None of them work because at the end of the day, you've got the exact same mindset. So to me, mindset's the limiting factor for most people with their weight loss. And unfortunately, they don't even see that as a factor. We've been trained to just ignore our mindset. That is literally why I get here every day, Monday through Friday at noon, to help everyone out. My mission in life is to help as many people as possible live at their goal weight. This is my mission because my father died of a heart attack at 54. I was 9 years old. And so this was the defining trauma of my life. And 10 years later, I was 50 pounds overweight. And it was just by the grace of the pure luck of my life that I discovered all this stuff. And so it was so transformative to me that this has become what I do. But my motivation is much deeper than just wanting you to look good and wanting you to wear a bathing suit and your skinny jeans. I want you to do all those things too. But my main motivation is I want you to live as long as you can. I want you to have the best quality of life while you're here. That's my motivation. It's a deeper motivation. And that's kind of instilled into the whole Program Yourself Thin system. It's a deeper motivation, you know? And I think when you're really motivated about something, and you have the right system and plan, you can get results that you never dreamed possible, you know? And that's one of the first things you got to do, folks, because most of you dieters now are apathetic to the point of failure. And the apathy is like, it's a form of learned helplessness. You know, they've done horrible experiments with animals where they would basically electrify a floor and there was no relief from it. And eventually the dog just lays there, you know. Or the other example, I got to keep remembering the other example, the fleas. It's a little bit of a nicer story, but they'll put fleas in a jar and the fleas can easily jump out, right? But they put a lid on the jar for a couple days and you take the lid off and eventually the fleas just jump right to below where the lid was. Right? Learned helplessness. They learn these limiting beliefs. They learn these limiting ideas. So the diet industry has conditioned you to just associate failure with weight loss at this point, to the point that you probably basically have given up. You don't even believe anything's possible. You don't believe anything's going to work, most likely, you know. But at the same time, you have to respect that you've never had any sort of mindset approach to your weight. I know that because every day I get on here, I've been doing this for over 3 years. Every day I ask, who are you going to learn how to have a thin and healthy mindset from? What program? What person are you going to study? And people say me. That warms my heart. I thank you. Yes, me, definitely. But outside of me, who are the big names you're learning about mindset to be a thin, healthy person? I'm not expecting anyone to tell me anything because I ask this every day. I never get an answer. I get Corinne Crabtree, who's great. I like her. Okay. But I'm talking like big, you know, Weight Watchers, you know, Jenny Craig level, like everyone knows about it. And you're going to find, no, there is nothing. There's nothing there because the diet industry has literally just erased mindset somehow from this process. And when you look at your own experience, how can mindset not be the fundamental component to the results you've been getting and the results you're going to continue getting if you maintain the same mindset? Allie says, hi, Jim. Our email's still not working. Emails. Okay. This has been, I'm glad you asked that. Emails have not been, there was an issue last Thursday with emails that happened. I didn't understand what it was until Tuesday. Thought it was all fixed. But then there had to be an extra step for the people that were affected to be approved. That should be fixed today at 9:00 a.m. I got a message saying it was fixed. I even went and checked a bunch of the emails, and it looks like they were good to go. So what that means is you probably missed today's email, but if you're in the program and you're getting the daily emails, you should begin receiving those tonight, tomorrow. If you're in Thrive, you should begin receiving those Sunday. And if you don't receive them Sunday, please email me because there's something else wrong. But I know most of you are going to start receiving them. So again, I apologize with all my heart. Nothing stresses me out more than when the technology stuff's not working right. And it's back on the right train. So Judy says, when I cut back on food, which I know you need to lose weight, it causes me to binge later in the day because I'm hungry. Any suggestions? Yeah, Judy, that's a classic dieter mistake. This is where you really need to understand calorie density. Weight loss is not about reducing the food intake. It's about reducing the calorie intake. And there's a lot of wisdom in that, because what most dieters do is they try and cut the content of the food they're eating way down. And then they get really hungry and they can't fight the hunger and they end up eating, binging, overeating, whatever. So the real secret is to start making trades. Figure out the most calorie dense foods you eat and start replacing them with lower calorie dense foods. What's calorie density? Calorie density is the amount of calories in a volume of food. So if we take this much apple versus this much cookie, the cookie's got way more calories in it than the apple. Same volume, same size, but the cookie's got 3-4 times as much calories in it as the apple. Okay. So that's an example of what calorie density means. So high calorie dense foods, butter, oil, cheese, fried foods, because it's got oil in it. Right. And so those are higher calorie foods. And so instead of just completely trying to cut the food out, if I was going to cut food out, like you're saying, Judy, I might cut some foods out, but then I would add, or I would replace, I would eat a salad. I would eat some, apple, banana, obviously there's a lot of other lower calorie foods that aren't at that low calorie. Right. But what you're doing is you're over restricting, getting yourself starving, and then you can't control your hunger. And program yourself thin, managing your hunger is fundamental to managing our eating. And I think dieters have not been taught this. Dieters are trying to fight against their hunger. They're trying to make themselves, most dieters associate hunger with weight loss. I associate hunger with failure, because you're not going to fight your hunger and win for long. You might for a little while, but not for long. So the much better strategy is to learn how to manage your hunger effectively so that you've reduced your calories, but you still feel satisfied. Relatively. A little bit of hunger is normal and fine, by the way. I'm talking about the type of hunger that causes you to binge and feel out of control. So again, Judy, if you look at what you've been doing, though, it's the perfect strategy to overeat. There's no better strategy to overeat than to over restrict, just so you know. So again, that's what I would suggest. One other thing, just a real simple one, is don't restrict so much. Maybe when you cut back on food, I know you're overcutting the food out because you're saying it's causing you to binge because you're so hungry. I know you're over restricting. So maybe restrict half as much as you were and see how that feels. Play around with it. See if that works better. Novi says, how would you deal with it when the sarcastic voice isn't a coach? It's just making sarcastic jokes about your own failure. Like, we both know I can't do this, LOL. Well, that's what I was talking about, Novi. You take that's the sarcastic bad voice. So you turn into a sarcastic good voice, just like this. Ready? I'll show you how to do it. So the sarcastic voice says, we both know I can't do this. I said, no, we both know I can't do it. I don't know that. I know I can't do it the way I've been doing it. Right? Now watch, Novi, I'm gonna do this. I love doing this. This is what I love doing. I love arguing and debating shit. And so I'm in my head doing this shit all day long. So when I hear the sarcastic voice, oh, look at you. We both know we can't do this. You've never been able to do this. I say, who the fuck are you? Yeah, we can't do it the way we've been doing it because we've been doing it like dipshits. We're dieting. We're struggling. We hate doing this. We're miserable. So yeah, that ain't gonna work, right? What's it going to say? You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, okay, you said that shit before. It's not going to work. Yeah, I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to keep getting better. What do you think of that? We're going to keep improving. We're going to keep understanding it. We're going to keep improving. How is that not going to lead us to being better next week, next month, next year? You tell me. How does constant improvement and understanding our weaknesses, improving them, not make us better? You know what I mean? So the biggest mistake people make is they just accept the negative bullshit they say to themselves as truth. You got to start pushing back against it. So please understand that you can have a sarcastic voice for bad and a sarcastic voice for good. Okay? I hope that helps you out, Novi. Pastor Melody says eating healthy, walking, working out, eating healthy. I eat a lot of protein. Yeah, but I mean, eating healthy, watch out for that. A lot of times that eating healthy becomes a licensing effect issue where we're saying, oh, I'm eating so healthy, but you can eat healthy and still overeat. You know what I mean? It does come down to calories too. Eating healthy, more whole natural foods tends to make losing weight and eating less calories a lot easier. Okay. But watch out for eating healthy. Sometimes people say they're eating healthy and they're still gaining weight, but a lot of times that's because we can eat healthy and still eat a lot. So just anyways, watch out for that. Darlene says I'm to the goal weight range, but that, excuse me, water here. Darlene says I'm to the goal weight range. Again, Darlene's in the program. Okay. But that little mindset gets back at me at times. The reader rehearsal does help, but I get impatient and worry about gaining back. I know that's mindset. The worrying about gaining it back is completely normal and natural, and it's something you've got to work to deal with. And the way I would suggest dealing with it is really focusing on how much better you feel, Darlene, in your goal weight range, the way you've done it. Now, I know Darlene's in her goal weight range using the Program Yourself Thin. So she's got a system. Again, this is the program. This is the goal weight blueprint that we use in the program. It's a 144-page roadmap you make. It's a custom roadmap for you to get to your goal weight and stay there. So I know that Darlene's not only at her goal weight range, but she's done it in a way that is the most comfortable, easiest way she's ever used so far. And it's going to keep getting easier and more comfortable. And so, Darlene, when you remind yourself of that and you remind yourself how much better you feel at your goal weight, and when you really steep yourself in how much better you feel now than you did before, do you feel as worried that you're going to go back to your old ways of being and that you're going to gain it back? Because if you're so happy with how you feel now and how you look and all that, and you realize and remind yourself that the way you've done this has been the most comfortable, easy way that you've ever done it, where is that worry coming from? That worry is coming from you're conflating what you've done now and where you're at now with the past that you've done with diets. And so, Darlene, you have to wake up and remind yourself, you ain't in diet land anymore. You've got a whole new way here that's built for you. You've proven it feels comfortable. You've proven it works. You're at your goal weight. Things are flowing and feeling great. Don't be afraid to steep yourself in how good that feels. Because when things feel really good, we tend to want more of them. And if you want more of that, why would you be worried that someday you'd say, I don't want that? Okay, remember, this isn't dieting. You don't have some miserable shit you got to do for the rest of your life. You've got a plan custom made for you to stay at your goal weight forever. And it just keeps getting better and easier and more optimized as you keep working it. So why would you ever choose not to have that reality? Remind yourself of that. All right. And great job, Darlene. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them. And TikTok, I am here. I just missed a couple of those questions. Let me get some of those. TikTok has some of the worst. It's hard to find the comments sometimes. Jehan says, I've been able to lose 8 kilograms by being able to eat the same foods, just adjusting my portions. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can absolutely eat the same foods and lose weight. You just have to reduce portions. Now that can be, I don't know. Some things are easy and some things are hard for different people. So you always have to figure out what works best for you. That's a great strategy. But again, weight loss comes down to reducing calories. You don't have to stop eating croissants. You just have to eat less of them. You don't have to stop eating ice cream. You have to eat less of it. Now, eating less of it can be a challenge, right? It's hard to eat less ice cream a lot of times because it overrides a lot of circuitry here. But you can absolutely do it, but I think that's an important point to remember, is that you don't need to completely change how you're eating to lose weight. You can make small shifts and changes to it, Yeah. John says, yeah, because lots of people on GLP-1 say the biggest advantage is getting rid of the food noise. I've been working with food noise for over 30 years. So I can talk about food noise up and down the block here. And I find GLP-1, well, we will see. We will see. I've said this since the very beginning of GLP-1. I've been doing this podcast since before GLP-1. So I've talked about it the entire time. And, I've said the same thing, that GLP-1's just for weight loss. The people using it right now are the study group. There's never been long-term studies with GLP-1 just for weight loss. The long-term studies have been for diabetics. Okay. So anyways, one of the things about GLP-1 that most people don't know, you get 16 months of weight loss and then that's it, and then you're on this shit forever. And basically where this all comes to is that the best you're going to think about GLP-1s right now is coming to an end, because now we're going to start to get the negative side effects of it. And I'm not going to go into this because I don't want to, I'm a support place. And so if you're on GLP-1s, I want you to be able to show up here and be able to get something out of it. So I'm not going to sit here and attack GLP-1s. I think they're great in certain contexts without question. But I will say this, if they were so great, because here's what no one's considered yet. And this is where my brain's always at. Once the weight loss is stopped and you've been on GLP-1s for a year, let's say, what's the quality of life? You're talking about a life for the rest of your life where you just don't give a shit about food. Humans are biologically wired to be obsessed with food. And that means that birthday comes up. I don't give a shit where we eat. Doesn't matter. I don't enjoy the food anyways. Holidays, grandma's lasagna. I don't give a shit. I'll just have a little piece. I don't care. I don't know. I think as the enjoyment of food goes down, I don't know, the quality of life. I love eating food. I love eating food as much as I ever have. I would never want to take that away. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I think that's a real thing. And I just tap it off with this. I've seen no one who's a bigger proponent of GLP-1s than Miss Oprah Winfrey, right? We've seen her lately. Well, she went off it for a month, put 20 pounds on. So I'm going to ignore the part where she put 20 pounds on in a month. And that's another study that's coming down, that people that are coming off these GLP-1s are putting weight on so fast. And that's going to be terrifying because there's two parts going on here. One is, why'd Oprah come off it? It's amazing, right? Isn't it the greatest, right? She loved it. Remember she did I watched that. Did you ever watch the special she did? Boy, it was amazing. Amazing, this medicine. There's nothing wrong with this. So why'd she come off it? If it's so great, you got to be out for the rest of life. Why'd she come off it for a month? That's a question I'd like to know. And that's the big question I ask. I think GLP-1 ultimately, once the weight loss is gone, I don't know if your quality of life is going to be as good if that's how you feel about food, And then the second big thing is that people are losing weight fast and they're putting it on even faster. And you can't do that too many times, especially depending on your age and your situation. Because when you lose weight, no matter what, you are losing muscle. But when you lose weight rapidly and you lose muscle rapidly and then you put weight on rapidly, you've shifted your body from being more muscle to less muscle and more fat. And I don't know. I think that that's something I think to keep an eye on, as the future unfolds here. Soft says, what's the best way to start? I tell myself I want to, and I'm ready, but I just can't seem to do it. The best way to start is to start small, folks. And I know that's the opposite of what you think and what you've heard your whole life. Every diet is a grand slam attempt. You know what I mean? Every diet is a Hail Mary pass. It's just, we're swinging for the fences. You can think about it, right? This is what makes all diets the same. This is the thing that all diets are the same, whether it's vegan, carnivore, Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting, Mediterranean, any diet you can possibly think of. What makes them all the same is the mindset you approach them with. So regardless of which one you pick, what's always exactly the same is your mindset of, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it start tomorrow. I'm going to do it 100%, right? Whatever plan you start, I'm going to do it 100% start tomorrow. And at this point now, you've started so many diets and quit so many that now you can't get yourself to start. Partly because you don't think they're going to work anyways. But the other part is that it's such an enormous undertaking. If you're like most people, you're pretty much up to here with life right now. I'm assuming. It's a stressful time of life. And it's ironic, right? Because we never had more technology and power than we've ever had. But on the other hand, it feels like there's never been more stress. And so unless you're one of the few that just has an abundance of energy and time and space and emotional capacity, most people are kind of up to here. And so how are you going to be kind of up to here with life and responsibilities and work and all the rest of it, and then all of a sudden take on completely changing how you eat? That's a huge, heavy cognitive lift. And so you avoid it. But what if you took it on in a smaller bite-sized way? That's why I say, and program yourself thin. There's levels to it. You can engage at different levels. It fluctuates around an all or something mindset. Dieting is all or nothing. Program yourself thin is all or something. And so the something that we start with at the minimum is listening to your 5-minute hypnosis session in the morning, doing your 60-second mental rehearsal technique at night. That's it. If that's all the time you got for it, that's it. If you got more time, you start working on the blueprints, start watching some of the trainings. There's ways to engage at a deeper level. But if you're going to diet, it's a switch. You're either doing everything absolutely perfectly or you're doing nothing. So my biggest suggestion to start is to start smaller. Start by drinking more water. What's more water? Well, if you don't drink any water, let's drink this much water every day. If you drink this much water, let's make sure we do it every day. You drink plenty of water, let's work on my sleep. Let's work on moving a little more. Let's start eating an apple in the afternoons. But again, you dieters are trying to swing for the fences. You know what I mean? Like you got one mode, grand slam or nothing. And it sounds noble and exciting when you think about it, but when you step back and reflect on the results you've gotten from it, it's clear that it's a failing strategy. And there's no question about it. And so it's not you, it's that your strategy is so broken. The diet strategy is so broken that we can look at 100 years of diets and find that there's not one diet that rises above the rest. That's a crazy thing to say. There's not one single diet that is better than the rest statistically over time. The closest thing may be Weight Watchers, and that's simply because of the social piece to it. There's nothing in the Weight Watchers plan that's profound. It's just a glorified calorie counting. They just call it points. They've marketed it, but there's no value. There's no real value to it. And all diets fail the exact same way. And it's because they never teach you how to have a different mindset. You never approach it differently. So instead of the goal being, how can I lose weight the fastest? Let the goal be, how can I lose weight the longest? And once you start thinking of it that way, you realize this is forever. I don't have to rush. I can do this calmly, strategically, systematically. And I'll leave you with a quote on this, that one of my favorite quotes, that most people overestimate how much weight they can lose in a month and underestimate how much weight they can lose in a year. When you start thinking longer term, when you start being strategic, what happens is, maybe you won't lose as much weight the first month, the first 6 months. But what happens is you start figuring out ways to sustainably live at a lower weight. Again, I will say the biggest difference between you now and you at your goal weight is that you don't have the skill set. You don't have the skill set to live at a thin, healthy weight. Do you? Again, in Program Yourself, we break down to 3 main categories, right? Do you think you have the mindset to think like a thin, healthy person? Do you believe that you have the lifestyle or know how to have the lifestyle of a thin, healthy person? Do you know how to eat like a thin, healthy person? I mean, no, you don't. Are you learning any of those things from a diet? Because again, and even the eating piece, like me telling you what to eat is not knowing how to eat like a thin, healthy person. It's figuring out a way that really resonates with you, your lifestyle, your desires, your preferences. That's the secret, and you just never learned to think of it that way, So again, starting a little slower, I think is the secret. Yes, it's true. Yeah, it's true. It's true, Ayan. Yeah. I like what you're writing there. All right. Come up on TikTok. Human, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Can you talk about de-romanticizing food? I put pressure on my meals and meal times to be a release or reward. And when it does not live up to the hype, I eat to overeat to compensate. Oh, that's a great point. Yeah. Romanticizing food. Now, why would we romanticize food, folks? Could it be the tens of millions of food ads you've been exposed to in your life? I mean, Jesus, there's never been a society that's been more conditioned. I mean, the amount of food advertisement we've seen in our lives is it's unprecedented. It's unparalleled by a magnitude of everything. I mean, we can't even understand it. It's so, it's like the story of, the old fish swims by the 2 fish and says, "Hey, how's the water?" And the young fish goes the other way and says, "The what?" You know what I mean? Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's so, the food advertising is so part of our reality that we can't even see ourselves without it, So how do you de-romanticize it? Great question, right? I think the secret is to focus on the consequence phase. There's 3 phases of eating: anticipation, consumption, and consequence. All the food marketing revolves around anticipation and consumption. All food marketing has trained you to focus on anticipation and consumption of food. Don't think about the consequence. But if you start paying attention to the consequence, and I'm not talking about the long-term consequence of your weight and health, I'm talking about the short-term consequence. 5 minutes after you finish the last bite, How do you feel physically, mentally, emotionally for the next hour? If you start paying attention to that, it's game changer, absolutely transformative. Because once you start paying attention to the consequence of the food decisions you make, very quickly clarifies which ones support you and feel good and which ones do not. So that would be my suggestion. I think there's no better way to de-romanticize the food and pull yourself out of the bullshit conditioning that we were receiving constantly than to start really focusing on the consequences of the food, good and bad. Make a good food choice. What's the consequence? Make an unhealthy, poor food choice. What's the consequence? And the more you start to focus on that, the more you start to associate the proper things to the right behaviors. Hope that makes sense. Yep. Yep. Pastor says you have to change what you eat. Some food do not agree with our bodies, will give you allergies, swelling. It's true. I mean, different people can eat different foods and thrive on different foods. And I think that's another key cornerstone component of what we're talking about here, that I think dieting just kind of makes this assumption that everyone can eat the same thing and do the same thing, when in reality, we're all different. You know what I mean? Different things affect us differently. So I do think that if you, and program yourself thin, I always say that the goal of program yourself thin is to build a one size fits one plan, to build a customized plan for you and you alone to get to your goal weight and stay there. So I feel like that's true. Therese says your info on voices today is very helpful. Overate a bunch recently and tried to not listen to the negative stuff, but you also suggested adding in some counter voices. Thanks. Yes, you can't just not listen to the negative voice. That's what most people try and do. Most people hear the negative voice and try and ignore it, try and hide from it. That doesn't work. The negative voice is like a bully. And just like in classic fashion, it's a bully pretending to be bigger than it is. I'm telling you, when you push back against this negative voice, it crumbles. It doesn't have a good logical case. It's very emotional and triggers your emotions. But if you can calm down and relax and come back at it with a logical attack, it withers. It withers every time practically. I'm telling you, it doesn't have a foot to stand on. The emperor's got no clothes. The bully's got no clothes. So you can't just ignore it, though. You're not going to be able to ignore the negative voice. Do not do that. Fight against it. Attack it. Come back at it. Question it. Acknowledge it. Don't accept it's bullshit, because it's bullshit a lot of times. Yeah, we all make mistakes. So what? You know? Let's see. Yeah. All right. Vale says these chats inspire me to keep going. Thank you for your time and dedication. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Literally. This is what I do. And I've kind of reshuffled my schedule around a bit to help even more. I'm obsessed with this, folks. It really is my mission. I'm obsessed with it. I'm an obsessive person. Let it be known. I have been obsessed with this stuff for over 30 years. I was thinking that today. I literally don't know how many people on the planet are as obsessed with this as I am. Because listen, there's people that are obsessed with weight loss, but there are not a lot of people obsessed with living at your goal weight. And it's a different thing. You know, I even wrote a book on it. You know what I mean? I literally wrote the book on living at your goal weight. It's available now too, by the way. But yeah, so I am obsessed with this, and nothing makes me happier than when I hear messages like that. So keep it up, Vale. Keep it up. What's up, Lois? Lois says long-term makes so much sense. I want to know that 2, 5, 10 years from now, I'll still be at my goal weight. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's the big difference. With Program Yourself Thin, there's a confidence and a foundation that's so much more rock solid than dieting, because it's built for the long term. We start with maintenance. Program Yourself Thin, we start with maintenance on day one, because that's the whole goal. I don't give a shit if you can do some crazy restriction for a little while and lose some weight that's unsustainable. I don't give a shit. That is not impressive to me at all. If you lose 30 pounds this month, I don't give a fuck, because you're going to put it right back on next month. I don't care about that. And that's what the whole diet industry is telling you to do. I couldn't give a shit about that. What I care about and what I built my whole system on. Program Yourself Thin started because over 30 years ago, I learned about the science of role modeling. Find the people that are getting the results you want and study them. And that was the biggest distinction I ever heard, because all of a sudden I stopped. You know, I always joke about this. There was a guy growing up. I had a family friend who was a 400-pound comedian. And this guy he spent more on diets and did more diets and weight loss stuff than anyone I've ever known. And every other month he'd be telling me a story about some other plan he was on. He'd be describing it to me, explaining to me how it works. He knew everything there was to know about weight loss, never lost the weight. Once I started to learn about the science of modeling, find the people that are getting results you want and model them, I said, oh, I don't want to listen to him. He's not getting the results I want. I'm going to find the people that have lost weight and kept it off for a while. And in my mind, I said, you know what? I'm going to find the people who have lost weight and kept it off for at least 2 years. That's my litmus. That's my criteria. And I began looking for them. And, it's funny. I'll tell you where a lot of them were, and especially initially, is at the YMCA, because a lot of times people at the Y have internalized this as a lifestyle, as a way of being. And so I began to speak to them, and it was night and day instantly how they thought about things, how they lived, how they ate, how they approached this whole thing compared to dieters. It was like getting whacked in the face. It was so blatantly obvious. And so everything that I bring to you, that's the kernel of it all, is how do people that were overweight and struggling, how do they become people who are able to live at their goal weight in a relatively comfortable, easy, automatic way? That's been my obsessive focus for over 30 years. And I think that's what makes this approach so different, because it's a completely different goal. Everyone you see is going to be talking about how you can lose weight the fastest, but it's a trap. Because I believe this to my core, that the way you lose weight the fastest and the way you lose weight the longest require two totally different strategies. And we could take that to the extreme, because the absolute fastest weight loss would be nothing's going in. Dry fast is what some people call it. No food, no water. Jim, I dry fasted for a month and lost 30 pounds. Who gives a shit? What are you going to do next month? You're going to put the weight back on because you got to eat, you got to drink, right? So I don't listen to people like that. And to me, to be completely honest, for most people, intermittent fasting, keto, carnivore, Weight Watchers, it's the same ballpark. How long do you do that for? It's not built for the long term. Do you love doing it? No, you don't. If you love doing it, you'd be doing it now. Program Yourself Thin, we love doing it. I love the way that I live. I want to eat the way I'm eating for the rest of my life, and I'd be happy if I did. Now, I know I'm going to keep optimizing and refining what I'm doing, so it's going to look different in 50 years when what I'm doing, but I'm happy with, I love how I eat now. I love it. It doesn't take willpower for me to get through a day. I just flow through my day because I've strategically structured my eating in a way built for me that I love, that gives me the results I want. You never even consider that as an option, probably. And that's a problem if you care about your weight, Azra said, hey, Azra, what's happening? Hey, Jim, any tips on how to avoid the free snacks at work? Yeah, you could stop thinking them as free. They cost you. They cost you happiness. They cost you health, perhaps. They cost you control. They cost you feelings of success. They cost you feelings of momentum. They cost you guilt. They cost you shame. They cost you frustration. So there's one step, and then bring an apple to work or bring something else to work so there's an option. So it's not just, I can't eat free snacks. It becomes, I don't want those. I got my own snack. I combine those two. But how's it going anyways? Nice to see you. What's up, Laura? Laura says, and have been wrongfully obsessed with losing weight instead of being healthy first. Yes, of course. True. Absolutely. Please understand. I know Program Yourself Thin. Thin's got a kind of a double connotation. People don't like it sometimes. I've thought about this a lot. I'm reclaiming the word thin. I don't think it's a bad thing. I love being thin and healthy. So please understand. I use one of my favorite mantras, one of the core mantras of the whole program, is that nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels. And people say, oh, that's what Kate Moss said. And when she was bad, well, she said nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. To me, skinny is different than thin and healthy. I think they're two totally different things. And I'm not just semantically trying to explain something away. In my opinion, being thin is being at my goal weight. What's my goal weight? My goal weight is the weight that gives me the best quality of life. So thin for me is shorthand for being at the weight that gives me the best quality of life, makes me the happiest, the healthiest, gives me the best chance of living the longest, makes me the most successful, gives me the most energy. That's how I think of it, So I think you're absolutely right that most people have to expand what their goal is from just a visual, I want to look this way or be this size, to I want to be this person. I want to look this way. I want to live this way. So agreed. All right. And we get out of here. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're not in my world, please, if you're in TikTok, click my little face up in the left. You'll see the link in my program. Go get it. Wait, what's Sue say? I like your ideas a lot. Have you thought about programming your language? I'm not sure what that means, but I think about programming language all the time. I literally have an AI clone. And yes, I have, like I said, it's a clone based on, it's built on over 10 million of my words. So it's got all my podcasts in there. It's got coaching sessions in there. It's got my trainings in there, which I've done a lot of. Okay. So if that's what you mean, yes, I have thought about that. But yeah, if you're not in my world, make sure you go get that free hypnosis session, get in my world. I give you more free stuff than anyone. I give you a whole free program, literally. It's got a 10-minute kickstart session in it. It's got a training 3 steps to living at your goal weight, a goal weight quiz so you can pick the right weight. The PYT method report shows you how to do the 60-second mental rehearsal technique a night. It's the cornerstone of the whole program. I just give it to you. And I give you, at least right now, access to Gym AI, which is my clone. You can talk about it whatever you want for free. So again, I don't think anyone else, can give you more than I give you. All right. Subi says cursing. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. You thought about your language. Yeah. The cursing. I know. I've gone through this. And the truth is I do swear a lot. And, at the end of the day, I have found that the cursing is more genuine and real and authentic for me. It's how I communicate. And it's also kind of a good litmus test, honestly, most of the time. And again, not always. There are people that don't curse and really have a problem with it, don't get in the program. I miss some of them. But the vast majority, I think it's a good litmus test that if you don't like that, you're probably not going to like the program. So I hear you, though. But it takes too much cognitive energy for me not to swear. And then I get too worked up and I swear anyway. So I just got to give it up to it. Yeah. But I get it. I get it. So yes. So go join my yeah, no, some people love that I curse too. So it just is kind of how I am. And it's just more genuine. And when you do a podcast every day for over 3 years, you trend towards more genuine and authentic, I would say. And so I guess that's just part of it. So the other thing too, again, what was I saying? Okay. So yeah, go opt in. Right. And if you're in Facebook land, the link's up there in the comments. This book's available. Okay. This book's on Amazon right now. The Tao of Living at Your Goal Weight. Go check it out. This book is something else. If you care about your weight at all, this book is an absolute game changer. And it's $2.99 for the Kindle version. I'd suggest getting the physical version for an extra $6. I think it's really valuable having this. 40 chapters, any chapter you can open up to, and you're going to get something out of it. So that's something else. And finally, I'm here every Monday through Friday. So if you ever, usually around noon Eastern, if you want to pop on here, ask questions, I'm happy to help you. And I would like to do that. So I'm reading some of the comments while I'm talking. It's funny because, yeah, it is funny, right? The cursing's funny. It's true. Sue says Jesus doesn't care for it though. Do we know that for sure though? Are we positive that Jesus doesn't like swearing? I don't want to offend anyone, but I just, how do we know that? Are we sure about that? Anyways, yeah, okay. And then this is a podcast too. So if you like listening, but you can't make the lives, it's a podcast every day. So you can go to any podcast platform and search Program Yourself Thin, and you'll find this, and then you can listen whenever you like. And people seem to like that. All right. Mary says, I'm finding drinking water throughout the day really helps drop the weight. Yes, agreed. I think water is a wonderful, wonderful piece of the puzzle, a very, very important one. All right, everyone, have a super duper weekend, and we will talk next week. Bye, everyone.